Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're diving into the incredibly fascinating and honestly slightly ominous ideas presented in the documentary Why the World Wants You Small. We're going to explore the modern human experience as a hidden battle. It's basically a psychological awakening journey. You know that feeling like no matter how fast you run, you're just stuck on a treadmill? Like there's this invisible ceiling on your life you literally cannot break through? Well, this documentary argues that is absolutely not an accident. It's actually the result of a meticulously constructed mental labyrinth.
Why are you always exhausted? This is the profound hook the source material uses to plunge us straight into the deep end. And we aren't just talking about needing an extra cup of coffee here. We're talking about a deep, pervasive burnout. Imagine a person trapped inside an invisible prison. You're constantly scrolling, chasing approval, working endlessly, taking in infinite information, but at the end of the day, you just feel empty inside? The documentary asks a really provocative question. What if this exhaustion is completely by design?
Because here is the core premise they present. It's not in your head. The source argues the world is intentionally designed to keep you small and dependent. Now, to be clear, this isn't about blaming some cartoonish, evil supervillain pulling levers in a dark room. It's just a cold, systemic reality. Your compliance? Well, it's highly profitable. The invisible systems all around us just function so much smoother when we're docile. So naturally, waking up to this reality is seen as a massive threat to the system itself.
Which brings us to part 1, the architecture of distraction.
The narrative shifts its focus straight to the digital battlefield. You see, we usually think of wealth in terms of dollars and cents, right? But the source argues that attention is the true currency of modern control. Let's look at the number 96. Data shows the average person checks their phone 96 times a day. That's once every 10 minutes. To put that into perspective, it's like having your train of thought derailed almost 40,000 times a year. It's a pretty dystopian reality, and the documentary uses it to highlight just how deeply embedded these systems are in our lives. You are quite literally surrounded by screens, algorithms, and endless data streams that constantly fracture your focus. It leaves you stuck in a perpetual state of reaction rather than action. And that leads directly to a concept called dopamine hijacking. The source makes a really compelling argument here. Constant scrolling is not a sign of personal weakness. It's a heavily engineered trap. Literally thousands of developers have designed these platforms specifically to manipulate your brain chemistry. Why? Well, think about it. After a long, hard day at work, if your remaining energy gets totally drained by an infinite scroll, your mind is left way too exhausted to create, to push back, or to revolt. A tired mind simply obeys. Moving on to part 2, the leash of debt. We're shifting gears from digital distraction to financial reality. The source presents this cold, mathematical truth. Financial independence is the only real freedom. Student loans, mortgages, car payments, credit card interest. The documentary argues these are not just accidents of modern life. They are invisible leashes. When you are weighed down by structural debts like these, it totally prevents you from taking risks. You can't just walk away from a toxic job or challenge the status quo. You have to show up and you have to comply, simply because the math demands it. The documentary aggressively delivers a rather brutal truth. Broke people are easy to manage. Wow, it's a stark statement, but it underscores how the system relies on fear. The film argues that the overarching structure out there doesn't want you $1 million away from freedom, it wants you exactly one paycheck away from disaster. Because when you are operating from a constant place of financial fear, your behavior becomes incredibly predictable. And predictability is exactly what the system needs to maintain control. Next up is part 3, the illusion of choice. Here, the source really challenges our perceived freedom by exposing the paradox of consumerism. I mean, we often mistake walking down a grocery aisle with 50 different brands of cereal for actual liberty, right? But let's look at the distinction between consumer selection and actual freedom. Consumer selection is really just choosing how you want to serve the machine. Actual freedom is having the power to choose whether to serve it at all. The film argues that when you trade your privacy, your data, and your time for a shiny new smartphone or a free app, you aren't really a free citizen exercising liberty. You have actually become the product itself.
Now for part 4, social conditioning.
So this invisible prison we're talking about, it isn't just built from debt and screens. It's deep-seated behavioral training. You can clearly see the invisible rails of conformity were placed on practically from childhood. Get good grades at 18, get a degree at 22, secure that promotion at 30, and just ride it out until retirement at 65. The documentary exposes how the system consistently rewards obedience and punishes deviation. If you try to step off this conveyor belt, the system is designed to make you feel like a total failure, using intense social pressure to force you right back into the herd.
And the crazy part is, people willingly shrink themselves to fit into these societal boxes. Why? Because our very real biological fear of ostracization is weaponized against us. The source argues that most people would much rather be wrong but accepted by the group than be right and entirely alone. It's a basic survival instinct, sure, but it's been hijacked by the system to ensure we self-police our own boundaries.
This brings us to part 5, the comfort of victimhood.
All right, brace yourselves, because this is the tough love portion of the explainer. The massive plot twist in this whole journey is the realization that your invisible cage is actually locked from the inside. Many people don't want to be free. It's a highly uncomfortable reality to face. But why is that? Because true freedom is genuinely terrifying. It requires the absolute, unshakable responsibility of completely owning your own life. If things go sideways, there's literally no one left to blame but yourself. And the documentary argues that for a lot of folks, that burden is simply way too heavy to bear. So the crucial point boils down to this trade-off: the safety of dependency versus the uncertainty of sovereignty. Blaming the government, the economy, or even your upbringing acts as a powerful psychological sedative. It feels good because it totally absolves you from having to take terrifying, uncertain action. The film notes that this illusion persists because deep down, we secretly prefer the cozy, warm predictability of the cage over the wild, completely unprotected reality of true independence.
Finally, we reach part 6, the escape plan.
The good news? The journey doesn't have to end in the cage. The documentary shifts gears here to equip you with actionable tools for self-mastery. The ultimate goal isn't just to be angry at the system. The final emotion we're driving toward is clarity, strength, and liberation. It is time to rebuild your identity through focus and discipline. So here is the structural blueprint for freedom. Step 1, reclaim your attention. You have to guard your focus fiercely against those algorithms. Step 2, eliminate dependency. Get out of debt and create value that a machine cannot automate. Step 3, embrace discomfort. You've got to ignore the validation of people who are still trapped and grow a really thick skin. And step 4, think in decades. While everyone else is playing the instant gratification game, you need to play the long game.
This represents the ultimate transformation from unconscious living to authentic power. The world does not become smaller when you awaken. You become too large for the cage. The system itself doesn't shrink. Your awareness and your sovereignty simply outgrow the invisible walls that once held you. It's such a powerful provocation from the documentary. It leaves us with a critical choice. Will you stay small and safe, or will you break free? I'm gonna let that sit with you for a moment. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. And remember, keep questioning the labyrinth around you.